Hi, I'm Valerie and welcome back to Now Gardening, where today I'll be talking all about leggy seedlings. And be sure to stay till the end of the video when I will share how to get the strongest seedlings possible. First, so there's not any confusion, I just want to go over what a leggy seedling is. Leggy seedlings can be identified in 4 quick ways. 1, if it has a pale, skinny stem, then it's leggy. 2, if the first leaves of the seedling are more than 2 to 4 centimeters, then it's leggy. So number 3, and I'll just use the same example, if it looks like it's stretching towards something, then generally the seedling is also leggy. And last, if the seedling is falling over, then it's definitely leggy. So now that you've identified that you have leggy seedlings, why is it leggy and what can you do about it? So let's talk about why your seedlings are leggy. The most common cause is that your seedling is not getting enough light. Now, seedlings are light hogs. They need 12 to 18 hours of sunlight a day. So even in a south-facing window, it's highly unlikely that they will get enough sunlight, or at least all the sunlight that they need to truly thrive. And I'll come back to this more in just a minute. The second reason your seedlings could be leggy is that they're not getting the right amount of water or the right nutrients. This can be because you started with poor soil, because your seedlings are not getting the right amount of water, or because they're crowded and they're competing for resources. And the third most common reason that I've seen from new gardeners is that the seedlings are too warm. This can happen from leaving the seedlings too long on a heat mat or keeping the top on too long if you're growing them in a covered container. Now that we've identified that they're leggy and why they're leggy, let's talk about fixing them. Here are my favorite ways. Tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants have a huge advantage when it comes to a leggy start. And this is because they can actually grow roots all along their stem. And what that means is you can take a leggy tomato seedling or a leggy pepper seedling and you can bury it all the way up to its leaves. You dig them up after a couple of weeks, you'll find out that they've actually grown roots all along the stem. For other plants, if the seedling is only mildly leggy, you can improve its growing condition and it will recover. For example, these parsley seedlings are getting a little bit leggy, but they're not too bad right now. They're just still pretty strong. They just need to be divided out and planted into individual containers so that they can grow strong. In other cases, maybe your seedlings aren't getting enough light and you need to get them under an artificial light so that they start to get stronger, or make sure that they're exposed to more sunlight, or turn them so that different parts of the plant are facing the sun during the day. In other cases, they're just kind of a little bit weak and they need to be exposed to some fresh air, whether that's by a window or whether it's by putting a fan on them for a few hours each day. By the way, when you put a fan on them, kind of like a basic training for your seedlings, it prepares them for their big transplant eventually outdoors by strengthening their stem and simulating the outside environment. Plants that are limp and falling over, I'll just use this one as an example. This guy is just not looking great. I can go and repot this and expose it to some better conditions, but sometimes it's honestly just better to start over, especially when you have plants that are fast growing and have a fast germination cycle. So for example, in the case of lettuce or cucumbers, they all grow really fast. So yes, you can recover them, but in general, with a lot of leggy plants that have gotten a little bit pathetic, it's just best to start over. Most of us are very good at keeping an eye on our seeds, just waiting on the edge of our seeds for them to germinate. Although we're not as good about taking that seedling as soon as it germinates and putting it in the right condition for a seedling. As you probably already know, seeds have different requirements from seedlings. For example, your seeds don't necessarily need light to germinate, but your seedlings need a ton of it and right away. So get those seedlings under a light, get them to 12 to 16 hours of sunlight or artificial light. And if they've got a cover on them, then take that off so that the light can get in. Likewise, your seeds will germinate best if they're nice and warm and toasty. However, your seedlings don't necessarily need that. In general, your seedlings will do just fine with a normal room temperature, and in fact, the heat causes the stem to grow faster than the leaves do. And last, seeds need to stay damp until they germinate, but seedlings suffer from too much water. The best solution that I've found is to water them from the bottom. You want your seedlings to actually grow deep roots down, like those roots actually growing out of this one. The other thing is that if you overwater them or the soil stays damp all the time, the roots either they just won't develop at all or they'll get root rot. Also end up often getting fungus gnats, which can be an absolute headache and a disaster in your house. And the same is true for the soil. Seedlings need a lot of nutrients. So don't hesitate to repot them, to pot them up into different containers, or to simply pinch off the ones that you don't need. That will give them more room to grow without competing for nutrients. Have a great week, and I hope to see you back next time.